A star was born tonight in Jaron Boots Ennis. What a performance from Boots. This is a performance that I thought he was going to have a good performance. I didn't think he was going to have a great performance like this. This was way beyond expectations and a great job from Boots, who stopped Eimantas Stanionis. 6 rounds happened. Stanionis in his corner said, nope, we're not coming back out in the 7th round because of the damage Jaron Boots Ennis was doing. An incredible showing for Boots, who, after a rough 2024, 2 fights in Philly, 2 fights that maybe had more questions than answers as he was looking to prop himself up for these huge fights upcoming. This was a incredible response, and not only has it shown that Boots Ennis is the top guy by far at 147, it might be time to put Boots Ennis on that pound for pound ranking. A incredible performance that we're going to break down right here on the Never Drop podcast. Before we do, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this video, as Boots Ennis put on one heck of a performance in Atlantic City against Eimantas Stanionis, potentially his toughest opponent to date. Going into this fight, for me, my biggest thing was, how is Boots, one, going to handle a weight cut, and two, is his defense going to improve from his last fight, especially against Jaron Boots. Well, the weight cut, not an issue at all. We'll talk about this right now, because this was, as soon as you turned on the TV and you saw this, Boots looked like a different man. He looked so much bigger than Stanionis at 147. And one of the reasons you have to believe that is because, since it was a unification bout and Boots had the IBF belt, he doesn't have to deal with the 10-pound rehydration clause. He can rehydrate to whatever he wants. And it certainly looked like that. It looked like Stanionis was like a natural 140 pounder that was coming up. Boots just towered over him, and in size was just so much bigger than Stanionis. With that being the case, it seemed like every time Boots even had a jab, flicked a shot, just connected somewhere on Stanionis, it seemed like Stanionis, it was affecting him a huge amount. It looked like Boots, hey, if he just wanted to flick out a jab, Stanionis, he'd have to backpedal. He'd have to back up, because it was just two different worlds, the amount of power these guys had on each other. And that goes into the second point with the defense. Yes, Boots had some very great defense in this fight. He was styling on Stanionis throughout many rounds. He was just looking at, like, dude, I'm over here, you're punching, what are we doing, right? Boots, his defense was better. I still think there are some potentially bad habits keeping the left hand down, because Stanionis did land some clean, good shots. And if we're going to go up to 54, if you're Boots, those punches are going to hurt a lot more than Stanionis, who just didn't have any pop on any of his shots. And that's why Boots really didn't respect him. I thought it was going to be a back and forth, each guy walking each other down. And to a degree, that's kind of how it started. And then Boots just became Boots. And even when Stanionis would land a couple of those good shots, Boots is like, all right, that did nothing. Come back, and he'd land a couple shots on Stanionis, and it looked like, geez, man, those shots are really, really doing damage to Stanionis, especially the body shots. Boots landed a body shot early on in this fight, maybe even the first, second round. I want to say the first round, and it was like, ooh, that one did some sort of damage. And then, of course, when he got the knockdown round 6, hit him with a body shot to begin, kind of buckled, not buckled, but you could see Stanionis felt it. Boots applied pressure, was able to drop Stanionis. Jeez, you saw the blood on Stanionis' face if you watched the fight. It was just like, these two guys didn't seem to be even close to the same weight class. For Stanionis, he kind of, to me, it felt like a less active version of Pitbull Cruz when he's at 140. When he was at 135, Pitbull Cruz, he had power. He was knocking people out. He was really doing damage. Goes up to 140, and I say this a lot because of the high guard. When he goes up to 140, okay, he's active, but he's not doing much power. Doesn't have too much power. Well, for Stanionis, he didn't have power and he wasn't active. His best shot in this fight was punching when Boots punched, because if he could catch Boots when he was open, throw it mid-punch, he was going to have to eat one to land one. It just got to the point where he couldn't take any more punches because of the power of Boots. it just got to that point where Stanionis is like, I understand my best punches are coming and landing when Boots is punching, but physically, I have to just shell up because I cannot continue to get hit like this. That was the biggest thing because there are times I want to say, I think I gave Stanionis either the fourth or fifth round. I think the fifth round, and that was kind of out of a pity because he landed some good shots. He won the first half of the round, and then Boots is like, oh, okay, let's not get too carried away, and came back and just continued to land on him. The nose started to bleed profusely, and it was just like, geez, yeah, Boots can get this guy out of there at any time. It really felt like, hey, if Boots decided, I want to just turn it up, I can turn it up. Really, an incredible performance from Boots, who took away Stanionis' best aspect of his game in the jab. The jab was non-existent for Stanionis, and continued to apply pressure. He switched between orthodox, southpaw. He's a southpaw, came out orthodox to start the first round. It was like, hey, this is the real deal. Again, do I want to see him get hit flush less in these fights? Of course. Kind of makes for a fun fight. Because now you're thinking, okay, A+ performance, but the one caveat is, what if Stanionis had a little more power, right? What if he did have a little more power? And if Boots goes up to 54, these guys, the name that keeps coming up is Virgil Ortiz. Say he gets hit with a shot from Virgil Ortiz like that. What happens? We want to see these guys trade with each other. And Boots, he's down to trade. He'll take a punch. I think it makes so much of a better fight, a more fun fight. And for Boots, it's like, yes, he showed his pound for pound skills. This isn't after the Karen fight where it's like, geez, this is, a huge deal. Yes, he got hit flush. I would have liked to see it less in this fight, but overall, I think it's an A+ performance for Boots that brings him back up to where people had him a few fights ago. I talked about in my preview after his fight against Roy Maivia. People were talking about, this is the guy, right? And then he had these David Avanesian fight where he stopped him. Didn't look great. Karen rematch didn't look great. One obviously didn't look great. This fight, hey, against the number 2 welterweight in the world, Boots showed there's not a welterweight in the division that can come close to him. I said in my preview, I think an off Boots that fought Karen in the rematch, and I think that might be one of the worst versions of Boots that we've seen recently. I think an off Boots like that still beats all of them, right? A Boots that we saw tonight gets all of them out of there early. Like, I thought, if anything, he'd get a late stoppage, like round 10 to 12, not after the 6th round. So to see that happen, again, that just put it in perspective that this guy, he's clearly the best in the division in 147. He might be one of the best in the entire sport. But now looking at what's next for Boots, right? Great performance for Stanionis, showed all different aspects of his game. What's next for him? Post-fight interview in the ring, they asked him, and he said, I don't know. He learned from his last fight with Karen, not saying anything definitive because he'll get held to that. He said, we'll talk about it. They tried to press him. You going for more belts? Moving up? I'll talk about it, was his response. Smart for him. Again, I don't think there's anyone that comes close to him at 47. I think he gets Mario Barrios out of there early after this performance against Stanionis. I think he could get Barrios out of there in 4 rounds. Like, because Mario's shown, I like him as a fighter, but he will get hit, and I think Boots will hit him and hit him hard. Brian Norman Jr., really good fighter. I just not on Boots' level. No knock against him. No one at 47 is. Goes up to 54. I'd like Boots over Sebastian Fundora. Who else? I got to see more of Bakram. That's a good fight. These are the top guys at 54. I like it. The fight I want to see, and the fight everybody else wants to see at 54, is Boots versus Virgil. That fight has been teased to us for far too long. That's the fight that needs to happen sooner than later. Again, it was talks that they would do it at 47. Never amounted to anything. Then at 54, fight ends up not happening. It's got to happen. I think these two are just, this is a fight that both guys, it's just building and building and building, and they're going to meet, and it's going to be one of the best, if not the best fights in boxing. I think, say if you do this fight in 2 years, I think it'll be the best fight in boxing. No doubt in my mind. You give these guys 2 years. Let Boots maybe collect another belt at 47, go up to 54, maybe get a fight or two in at 54, and then Virgil Ortiz, and Virgil's going to get a belt at 54. I think it's easily the best fight in boxing in a year and a half to 2 years from now. I think these two are meant to go against each other, and I want to see that, and I want to see that soon. I don't want to wait 2 years, even though I just said it would be a great fight, the best fight in 2 years. If we can see it sooner, I want to see it sooner because it's still a top 5 fight in boxing, I think. Those two guys, we got to see them fight. It would be absolutely incredible. See, this is the Boots that had people thinking he could beat Terrence Crawford. Again, I don't like the bad habit of getting hit far too much flush. Then, you have to try and fix that bad habit. If you do, what's Boots' weakness? Because that's what he got hit with in this fight. Of course, you can always tighten up the defense, but again, he showed good defense in this fight, moving around, great movement, great conditioning, good power, great power, honestly. I mean, and to it, I don't know how much. Was it the power? Was it just overwhelming Stanionis in size? I'm still trying to figure that one out. Either way, Boots was phenomenal. I mean, what a performance from him. As again, there's no one at 47 that can really, I don't think, compete with him. If you want to say Brian Norman Jr., I'll give you that. I still think Boots is on another level than a lot of these guys, and a lot of these guys across boxing. What a performance from Boots again. I came in saying I think he's going to have a great performance, and I picked a decisive decision win. I thought Stanionis would pose more of a threat, but Boots said, no, I'm going to just impose my will and power into this fight. And from the opening bell, it was like, oh, this dude's a level or two, heck, maybe even 3 above this guy. And this is supposed to be the number 2 guy in the division. And again, I'd love to see Stanionis in more fights, more frequently, and he's not taking these longer breaks. He didn't have the power to keep up with and earn the respect of Boots. And Boots knew it. And Boots had the power and then some. I was like, yeah, you're here on the East Coast in Atlantic City in New Jersey. I'm going to take care of business. And he did. Again, I thought Boots could have got him out really whenever he wanted. Boots worked methodically and got the job done. Let me know in the comments below, who do you want to see Boots fight? There's 2 questions here. Does he go to 54 or does he stay at 47? Let me know in the comments what you want to see in what division and what fighters in each division you would like to see him fight. If he were to go to 54, if he were to stay at 47. 47 is kind of obvious. He wants to collect belts. 54, hey, you want belts. But Virgil Ortiz, he's not a belt holder at the moment. I'm just saying. Let me know in the comments. I'm Luke Backman. This has been the Never Drop Podcast. Boots Ennis, phenomenal performance. Top of 147. He proves himself to be one of the best fighters in the entire world, not just the welterweight division. Let me know in the comments how you rate this performance, what you want to see Boots do next. That's all I got for you. Peace. I'm out.